Welcome to Farm Year Daily, a Field Forward podcast. I'm David Geiger, your host. Today on Farm Year Daily, there's been a bit of a change at the U.S. Grains Council. We speak to President Jay Fischer, who was just elected Secretary-Treasurer of the Council, about the mission there and more here in a bit. Please be sure to like and follow the podcast as well as our social media. We would love to have you join our community, keeping folks informed about what is affecting our farmers. This is Farm Year Daily. Last week, corn growers and industry leaders gathered for the U.S. Grains and Bioproducts Council delegates meeting. Now, it might sound a bit new, but many will be familiar with its former name, the U.S. Grains Council. The council is reaffirming its mission, and joining us to go over that is past Missouri Corn Growers Association President Jay Fischer, who was just elected Secretary-Treasurer of the council. Jay, thank you so much for joining us, and you've been an advocate for farmer-led trade, so tell me about that mission at the council, and how does that help corn farmers in your state and around the country?
Originally, the U.S. Grains Council was just marketing corn, barley, and grain sorghum, and that has branched off now into, we're ethanol, DDGs, byproducts. So when the name U.S. Grains is, heard around the world, well, most of the time people just think, your vision is, well, it's just grain. This now, by doing this name change, it kind of shores up that we do a lot more than just market corn, even though corn's a very important part of it, but we're also marketing, DDGs, ethanol, et cetera, byproducts of all kinds. So the name change is more just getting the name out there that we do way more than just grain.
Expanding then on the name, how does that support the folks on the ground and in everyday farming?
Every farmer in this state, it hauls corn to an ethanol plant at one point or another. And, we're not just marketing ethanol, we're marketing all the byproducts that come with it, and DDGs, co-products, so on and so forth. So for every gallon of ethanol we can move, every pound of DDGs that we can sell, that is returning money back into the Missouri corn farmers' pockets.
So this was a delegates meeting. There were grower leaders from across the country as well as industry professionals. What were some of the key topics that were going on? I assume the name change was a big one.
The name change by far outshined anything else that we had going on. And that was the focus of this meeting because it had to be voted on by the delegates. I mean, a name change is not a simple thing to do. We have actually been working on this for almost 2 years. And it was finally brought to this meeting for a vote. There's a lot of background that went into it. You don't take something that is a name that people have trusted in and referred to for 65 years and just all of a sudden change the name to something different. So with all the work that was done and the research that was done on the name, the Grains Council had such a good recognition and was held at such a high level that we decided that there was no way we could just throw the Grains Council name away. So we came back and we decided to add the bioproducts to it and keep the Grains Council name in place.
When looking at that mission, you guys spoke about how it's more than just grain. There's a lot of other products that come from what you grow. How does having boots on the ground work then in trade and having those personal relationships with folks across the world?
That's probably what I feel is the most important thing out there is building relationships with people in other countries and all over the world. There's so many other countries, we have South America that's, right at our heels that is offering the same, trying to market around the world also. But if we're at the plate first and we've built those relationships and that country that we're trying to market to looks at us as, hey, they've been here. They've tried to help us with grain storage. They've helped us with rail car unloading. We've done lots of research projects with them that'll help their country grow and help them provide food and stability. That will be the first phone call they make rather than turning to these other countries.
So you have seen firsthand how those trade missions and quality rollouts that you're just speaking about work. Do you have a moment in your experiences that was really a driver that told you that, man, this is really how this works?
Something that sticks in my mind when I went to China for the first time, it was probably back in 2014. When we actually went out, we went to a dairy farm, we went to a hog farm, and we were talking at the time a lot about DDGs and their use for feed, for the dairies, for their hogs, so on and so forth. When I actually was able to stand there and visit with the end user, the consumer of our DDGs, and how they had a lot of interest in our farms back here at home, and being able to talk to the farmer that actually produced it, it was just like it formed this camaraderie. And by the time our meetings were over with, they wanted to do whatever they could to purchase our DDGs. Farmers like to talk to farmers, no matter what part of the world it's in.
As you look ahead after this meeting and moving into the rest of the season, into harvest here in the fall, what are some opportunities or challenges you took away that really folks should be paying attention to, both in Missouri or around the rest of the country?
With all the rain we've had this summer, the crop, I drove to Michigan, and my gosh, the corn crop just looks really, really good the whole trip up there. We're going to have a pile of corn this fall that we're going to have to find a home for. And we're selling corn now. Corn fell below $4, I think, last week. And we're going to have to find a home for it. And the Grains Council's out here with the boots on the ground. And we got to work harder now than we did 5 years ago, just because, my gosh, sub $4 corn, we're going to have a good crop. Thank God we're going to have a good crop. But at the same time, we've got to get this moved. And the only way we're ever going to get prices up is to come up with new markets.
Jay, before we go, I just want to congratulate you one more time on being elected Secretary-Treasurer of the U.S. Grains and Bioproducts Council. And I also just want to ask how the Missouri Corn Growers Association has been a part of this journey.
It has truly been my honor to serve on the Missouri Corn Growers Board. I never would have thought when I came on the board in 2009 that I'd ever be doing anything like this. And Missouri Corn is a great organization that's opened a lot of doors for me and gave me this opportunity, and is working really hard for the corn farmers of the state. And I would just like to say thank you.
Secretary-Treasurer of the U.S. Grains and Bioproducts Council, Jay Fischer here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, David.
This is Farm Year Daily. We're going to take a quick look at the marketplace. And there was a negative close at the end of the Tuesday trading session. September corn 5.5 cents weaker, 381.5. December falling a nickel, 402 even. Soybeans in September 3 3/4 down at 971.5, with November falling 3 3/4 at 990 3/4. Soybean meal in September unchanged at $277 even. September wheat 8.5 cents lower, 508 1/4, with December falling 8.5 cents at 528 1/2. In livestock market close for Tuesday, there was green on the board. August live cattle $3.37, on our way in the green, $234.27. October up $3 even at $227.10. August feeder cattle $5.65 on our way more, $341.05, with September rising $5.10 at $339.55. Lean hogs in August, 60 cents a hundredweight in the green, $108.77, with October up $1.90, $92.80 a hundredweight. That is the Tuesday market close. This is Farm Here Daily. And we are going to wrap up the program today. A bit of a shorter show than usual. We have some really fun stuff coming along the rest of the week I'm excited to have you join us on, including the Iowa State Fair opening up on Thursday. And then on Friday, we have a special conversation with the Iowa Renewable Fuels Association for the 20th anniversary of the Renewable Fuel Standard. That'll be a fun conversation, and you won't want to miss that later on this week. Thank you so much for listening as well. We would love to have you join our community, so please like and follow the program as well as our social media at Field Forward Pod. You can also find me on social media at Geiger Reports, as well as WHO TV Channel 13 every weekday in their morning and noon hour programs. Again, I am your host, David Geiger, and I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody.